Thank you, Mr. President. I had prepared a speech for the closing ceremony that I would like to add to the proceedings of the meeting and will be distributed to you. But in order to save time, I prefer to speak off the cuff, given for those who are not in the informal consultations, the richness of those consultations and the far-reaching consensus that was agreed on a number of areas and narrowed down some of the differences to 3 paragraphs that were now the subject of reformulation, and I think will be very comfortable to all delegates. As the chair has just mentioned, it is normal in conferences of this kind, and given the complexity and the multitude of issues that we have covered, to have some difficulties with language. And it is in that spirit that I think the informal consultations have worked. I was very touched by the spirit of those consultations towards achieving a common African position. And I believe that now we have one, and I think it's going to be a very important contribution to the process. Now, let me also add that the importance of this meeting goes far beyond just producing a declaration. We are the continent of all continents that is experiencing the most dramatic changes in the relationship and the nexus between population and development. This is, of course, manifested by the demographic curve and all the issues that have been the subject of this conference, how we are going to transform that demographic curve into a dividend. But it has also a lot to do with the need for the world to take Africa in a completely different way. Because 300 years ago, when Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the famous philosopher that was at the basis of a lot of the discussions about freedom, formulated the concept of social contract. What he had in mind in his description was the need for different layers of solidarity. And he identified as a unique form of solidarity the relationship that exists within each family, between parents and their children, and the fact that parents want to take care of the children and want a better future for their children. If you translate the same principle into a nation, it is the duty of those who are in power, those who have the means, to care for the future of the next generation. So from a family concept, it became an intergenerational concept. Now, you don't need to search a lot to come to the conclusion that the idea of social contract is the same idea as sustainable development. Because the way we formulate sustainable development, it's about respecting the future generations by the way we behave today. So if we get into that notion of sustainable development being the right balance between economy, social, and also environmental, you will find the same ingredients in the social contract that also was pioneering in terms of identifying the need for a balance between man and nature. Now, what is fascinating in this debate is that if we bring it to the reality of today, how the world is evolving from a demographic point of view, it will not take much for us to realize that we are going to deal with a world with many more people, true, but where the majority of the young people are going to be in some areas of the world, and the rest of the world will be aging, which will call for a new type of social contract, a social contract between a young Africa and the aging world. And it is this reason that transforms our conference into something very special. It is not about, like before, Africa being one of the 5 regions that is going to contribute to the debate. This is about Africa being the region that represents, from a variety of points of view, the absolute indispensable angle in this debate of population and development in the future. So our declaration is expected, and the contribution of Africa is very much expected, because it is a contribution that is going to make a major difference for the understanding of the challenges that we all have to face on population and development in the future. Mesdames et messieurs, nous avons eu 2 jours très intenses et je pense que c'est aussi le moment pour pouvoir dire merci à un certain nombre d'individualités, de contributeurs pour cet effort majeur que nous avons tous eu à participer. Et j'aimerais tout d'abord féliciter avec beaucoup de chaleur la contribution de notre pays hôte qui a dépassé ses fonctions traditionnelles bien connues du bon recevoir, qui est une caractéristique éthiopienne, pour aussi jouer 2 rôles majeurs dans notre conférence. Le premier rôle, celui du pays qui préside actuellement à l'Union africaine, et nous avons eu l'honneur de compter parmi nous la présence de Monsieur le Premier ministre, Haile Mariam Desalegn, qui a toujours été très engagé dans ces débats sur le développement et la formulation d'une stratégie africaine, et qui préside aux destinées de l'organisation continentale à un moment crucial. Nous avons aussi le rôle que joue notre président, puisque l'Éthiopie est aussi le président de cette conférence et que nous sommes en train de formuler ce qui va être connu comme la déclaration d'Addis Ababa. Donc c'est vraiment avec beaucoup d'appréciation que nous devons compter tous avec la contribution majeure de l'Éthiopie. Nous avons aussi eu 2 co-organisateurs avec la CA, le FNUAP et la Commission de l'Union africaine. Et je tiens ici à remercier les efforts énormes qui ont été dispensés par ces 3 organisations pour le succès de notre conférence. Et bien sûr, le rôle qu'a joué toute la structure d'appui à la décision de la part des pays membres, que ce soit le bureau de la conférence, le comité des experts, le comité de rédaction, mais aussi les différents deans des régions et sous-régions de notre continent qui ont eu à participer dans la mise en place de la structure d'appui à la prise de décision de cette conférence. Donc à tous, vraiment, je remercie du fond du cœur la contribution qui a été donnée. Donc avec ces mots, Monsieur le Président, je voulais encore une fois vous remercier à vous personnellement de votre contribution, de votre patience pour qu'on puisse arriver à un résultat qui rendra l'Afrique fière. Merci.